Welcome to this episode. It's Friday evening, and Sebastian, our workaway, is still working. 2 workaways worked all week on this floor, or maybe more the preparation to do this floor, which is what the first part of this video is gonna be about. Like all things. All the things that go in to preparing to actually do a kind of floor like this, which in principle is very simple, but then when you do it in an old house, it becomes quite complicated. And the second part of the video is going to be a little bit different. This is the 25th episode, and we've had some struggles as a family. I've had some mental struggles, and I want to talk a little bit about that because it's also part of the project. And if you're not interested, you can just watch the first part. Yeah, let's go ahead. So last week we ended up with basically finishing most of the painting, and we got the electricity cables in there. Then a big part of the week was to get this area prepared for the floor. So the opening didn't go all the way down. So the first thing is we took out a little bit of the floor. There were some big stones in there. It was really tough work. And then we had to think about how we do this step. And there was a couple of options. We could have just done concrete and started the floor behind. But I think it looks much nicer if the floor comes into this and you're kind of stepping into the room with the step that you take up there. I don't know if that makes sense. There were basically 2 criteria I wanted for this step. One was it has to be really, really stable, because everybody that walks in there will step on it every single time, and you will go through here 100 times. And the other one, it should look like it was part of the old opening. So what I did is I found a very old piece of wood in the garage actually, and made this special piece. So then we laid out the floor, and it's a very simple setup. We have these small beams that are about 4 centimeter high. We put a little bit of a foam underneath, and we spread them out, put insulation in between, and attach the boards. That sounds pretty simple, but then it gets complicated because we need electricity in the middle of the room. So we had to run some cables under here and split these beams up. That was the one thing that made it more complicated. And the other thing is all the corners and the edges and so on. Another thing that makes laying out this floor more difficult than, say, in a new building is that nothing is square, nothing is parallel. So we put a lot of thought, almost half a day, into the question to orient the wood on what. So there's different options. So one option would be to say, let's take this wall and just run them parallel to that wall. The other option would be to take that wall and run them in a 90-degree angle, or take this wall and run them in a 90-degree angle, or take that wall and run them parallel. As for the direction, normally if you put wood in a room, you put it in the lengthwise direction, but there's another thing that you can take into account when you look at how to orient the grain, and that is if you look somewhere outside and see trees, for example, it can be very nice if the pattern goes out and then you see the tree. So I don't know if you can imagine this, but basically you're seeing a line here, and then outside you see a tree. So that can be another consideration. And as for what we went with in terms of parallel or 90 degrees, we choose to actually take this step as a marker and put the first boards parallel to that step, so that when we reach the step tomorrow or on Monday, it will be parallel to the step. So hopefully next week we'll be finishing the floor, we'll be oiling the floor, and then set up all the furniture. So yeah, that's about it. It's a really cool feeling to walk on this floor. It's really nice to have this really light room now with the nice light colored wood. So that's some reason for some joy. It's Sunday morning. Our workaways really want to finish the floor, which is cool. And I wanted to edit the video, and I had done a second part about the mental issues and so on. And then after watching it again, I was so unhappy that I thought I have to do it again. So I'm making these videos, one, to have a kind of diary for our family of this year. Two, to maybe inspire people to do something similar. And three, maybe to give a more realistic idea of what it means to take on a project like that, because I think YouTube is quite full of people doing projects and it looks like everything is just easy and so on. And for the diary aspect and for the realistic idea of what it takes, I think it's important to also talk about downsides. And I've had difficult times mentally in the past, where I wasn't feeling so good. But here it has really been much, much harder. And I think that has to do with a number of reasons. But I think one of the reasons is that we're basically taking on two big projects here. So it's a big project to renovate a house like that while living in it with a family. But it's also a big project to go to go to a different country and live in a different country with 4 kids and trying to settle into a new country and so on. So it's basically 2 big projects we're doing at the same time, and I think that kind of puts more stress on myself than I had anticipated. And then there's a whole aspect that if you have a new baby, you also think about the future a lot. And when I think about the future and the state the world is in right now, that kind of makes me
hopeless sometimes. It's probably something many people can relate to. And sometimes all of these stress factors plus thoughts about a negative future and so on come together, and then I really don't want to get up in the morning, and just don't want to do anything and so on. But you have to. A lot of people rely on me functioning, so to say, and that can be pretty hard. And what normally helps me in these kind of situations is to just get the body moving, like do sports, go to the beach. Be at the water is always nice and really helps me to get a different perspective and be thankful for the kind of life we're living here, which is absolutely amazing. And like just the fact that we have 5 kids who are healthy, that my wife and I have no like big diseases, stuff like that is just so amazing. But I forget that sometimes, and what helps is to do sports, to get outside and so on. But then if I have problems with my back, with my knee, with my hands and so on, and can't do these things anymore, then it really turns into a negative spiral. And that happened 1, 2, 3 times this winter. I'm feeling better now. I just have to, watch my health and so on. And I think can be very hard on my wife, who's then doing a lot of the motivational work, just on not only for me but also for the kids, and like has to keep this positive vibe going. But also for the kids, of course. If I'm in a kind of mood like that, I don't listen to them as much as they need to, because especially if they have school days, they have a pretty long day where they have a lot of new experiences, where it's hard for them to explain themselves to others, and they need somebody to listen to them in the evening and so on. And I'm not so good at that in situations where I'm not feeling that well. That was a lot of talking from my side. I hope you still enjoyed this video, and if you've experienced phases like this in your life, or want to share something, please feel free to comment. I think YouTube is a nice place to get in touch with total strangers about topics like this. And have a wonderful week. See you hopefully next Sunday. Until then, bye bye.